Okay. And we are rolling too. This is Rusty Satellite Show 174 Open. And here we are back on the Rusty Satellite Show. Very special week here in Louisville, KY, my hometown. I am very happy to be joined by my guest co-host, Chris Thieneman, is on the show, in the house. Welcome, Chris.
Welcome. Thank you, Rick. It's always a pleasure, buddy.
It's all great. We're going to talk a lot about, talk to you about a number of different subjects on the show today. But first I want to talk about my sponsor. I have two sponsors on the show. Passport Health Plan has been with me from the very beginning. And my friends down at the Eye Care Institute, down on Story Avenue, 502-589-1500 is the place to go if you need any help with your eyes.
I got a shout out to those. I'm heading over there at 2:30 to take my daughter. That's
there you go.
I go there for my eyes too. So there's another plug. I love them over there.
Well, they'll love to hear that. They're all they're great, friendly, great service. So
absolutely
glad to hear that you are a customer of the Eye Care Institute. Now later in the show, in the second part of the show, my guest is Emily Hagedorn. And she is a former Courier Journal reporter who now heads up the local action on Yelp. You ever use Yelp, Chris?
I sure do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you're going to learn all about the local operation Yelp. They got a big event on Thursday night at the Palace Theater. So that's going to be one that I'm going to go to, and hope a lot of you all will too at Yelp. You'll hear all about that in the second part of the show. All right, so before we get to our interview with Chris, I just want to ask you, Chris, real quickly, what have you been doing? I'm glad to see you're in town.
Well, I just finished it. Yeah, thank you. It's always great to be back home. I've been spending a lot of time in California working on a documentary about my experience that we'll talk about later. I came in town and still got to take care of some business and see family.
Well, we'll talk about that business. I know you got a lot going on in your life. You were on this show about a year ago in May.
Right,
was the last time you were on the show. I'm very happy to have you. You're my business partner with LouisvilleKY.com, the Pulse of the City, which we got some big plans for that too, right?
Good. Yeah, we do actually.
Yeah, it's going to be great. So anyway, let's go ahead and take our first break. And when I come back, I'll be talking with Chris about a big story going on in his life and something you'll want to hear about right here on the Rusty Satellite Show. All right, that's segment one.
Yeah,
I got to do a little.
Yeah, go ahead. We're still and.
Tell me when you go back on.
No, okay. You can still play it.
Okay, just like
yeah, that's what this is. It's all about the truth, man. We're not going to hide anything. I do have a hearing, just to let you know. Yeah, to give them a little experience on behind the scenes. I got a hearing for my appeal for my $500 fine that we'll be talking about on Friday. So that's really why I was coming into town.
Okay.
I still got some business to take care of.
Okay, so we'll talk about. I mean, that's what I want to find out from you. What you actually want to cover in this. This is going to be the interview with you. This is the
right. Well, there's things that there's absolutely no question that's off the table, Rick.
Okay.
Anything that pops into your mind, that's what I've been trying to get the detectives. I've offered them $1,000 a question if they would just take a lie detector test, to their favorite charity that we would agree upon. I'm challenging the chief of police, since he refuses to talk to me, return my calls. That I'm offering the $5,000 if he would debate me on this show.
Okay.
Some interesting things that just.
Well, let's get into
I get all kinds of fun stuff. So
okay.
When you're ready.
All right. So just feel free to pipe in. We're going to go about 15 minutes.
Yeah, sure.
12 to 15 minutes. And I'll sort of lead the way and all that. So here we go. All right, this is Rusty Satellite Show 174, interview with Chris Thieneman. And all right, we're back on the Rusty Satellite Show. Chris Thieneman is with me as my guest host, and he's also my interview subject. And I'm just fascinated by a lot of the stuff you going on. I watched a video recently of you on a cable access show talking about your case that is, I guess, 3 years old now?
It's already had its 3-year birthday.
3-year birthday.
In September.
So let's very quickly, I'll try to summarize the story as I know it as quickly as I can so we can go on and get an update. But you and a former girlfriend were driving down the road, having an argument. She was driving, stopped the car, you got out. You walked over to another place.
She left the car in the middle of the road.
She left the car in the middle of the road. The police came and she told the police that you had assaulted her.
I wasn't able to hear what she had to say to the cops, but
Okay.
I saw the report.
But they arrested you, put you in jail, and your side of the story is that you didn't assault her at all, and
Actually, she even told the police that she had called
okay.
911.
So in most cases like this, I guess the question I have for you is, most cases like this, I guess people either have the charges dropped, or there's a deal made, or something happens and it's disposed of pretty quickly.
Very quickly.
But parts of this case, you've already had one court decision, right?
Right. I was found not guilty of assault.
Not guilty of assault, but the case continues because you sort of refused to drop it, right?
Right. Well, I'm going to appeal, and the appeal is up this Friday.
Okay.
Appeal the $500 fine. It's easy to just pay the fine, but the prosecutor, Ingrid Geiser, actually lied in her closing arguments, and
Okay.
we never had a chance to say anything over those lies, and that's what we're going to be talking about.
Okay. And you've sort of taken this case, as I understand it, as and taken a great interest in the police, and some of the things that you think there's some corrupt cops out there that need to be exposed.
Well, we know that there are some corrupt cops. I've even had good cops tell me that, behind the scenes, hey, keep doing what you're doing because there needs to be some cleanup. And as I mentioned on the show, on the interview that's highlighted on the LouisvilleKY.com, when I went to the police station to tell about this corrupt cop, they just listened, walked me to the door, patted me on the back, and said, "Hey, we know she's a bitch. There's nothing we can do about it." You can edit that out if we have to, but you really, like you said, I could have had this done. The very first offer, the prosecution asked me to just plead to anything, and they'll drop all the charges. You won't have to go to jail. I said I'm not going to plead to anything, and then because I didn't do anything.
Right.
Then all of a sudden, our first trial was I got arrested in September. The first trial date was January. They knew they had a very, very weak case, so they just started doing whatever they could to get that extended. Mm-hmm. They actually tried to have me arrested the first time. They did it 3 times. The first time they tried to have me arrested because my ex-girlfriend would get all of her mail at my office because she had a business. Mm-hmm. So I never touched it, didn't want to look at it, didn't want to have anything to do with it. It was just collecting dust over in the corner. My secretary asked me, "What should we do about it?" I said, "You know what? It's not ours. Just put it in an envelope. Do not do anything. Mail it to her and be done with it." So I thought I was being nice. I was just sending her mail. And then the next thing I know, my ex and the detective tried to have me arrested for it.
Sure.
I mean, think about that. I mean, for sending her mail. Luckily, we were in Oldham County, and Judge Tim Freely, who was he just sat there, looked at it and said, "Miss Smith, he's sending you," it wasn't even him, it was his secretary, sending you your unopened mail. It looks like
did that violate a no contact?
No, of course not.
I mean, but that's what
they were trying to get me, because that would help their case if they could trump up some more charges.
Well, I understand that, and
so
I guess,
just to let you know, the Judge Feely just threw it out and said, "He's trying to help you." There's nowhere. And then secondly, they started sending out some pictures, and they accused me of mailing some pictures of her in some very compromising situations with some other women, and accused me of doing that, and the judge refused to even look at that.
Okay. So you're back in town Friday for a hearing, I guess. What's going to happen Friday?
Well, we're going to hear about the appeal. We didn't want to pay the fine. We didn't want to agree to anything.
Okay.
And we're going to try to be heard again. Try to get another date. It's more principle. Sure. It's not about the money.
I mean, I'm sure you've spent more than $500 fighting this.
No, I mean, no, quite a bit. Actually, it's been closer to about $100,000.
Okay.
But principle is very important to me. I'm proud to say that there's been some guys that come up and said, you know what, we really are proud of you for standing your ground because we couldn't afford. We had a similar situation with our ex-girlfriends.
Yeah.
And
well, I think that's the thing. If I can interrupt you there, one of the things that hit home with me was the story of how this original incident happened. That the cops showed up, they interviewed her, and without talking to you, took you off to jail.
even in court, they didn't deny that. They
So
said they did not
anybody-
interview. No.
I mean that's the thing. Any woman can accuse a man of assaulting her, and without any question,
No,
the police take the man off to jail.
And the more that the women know that, the more power that they have. I mean, that literally they can say whatever they want to. They don't even have to have a mark on them, and they're going to have the man arrested. It's
Wow.
just going to happen.
Okay, and this police officer in question that was in your case, I guess she's no longer on the force, right?
Yeah, I would love to try to find out. I've been told that she was forced to resign, but they, you know, they say that she was just retired.
Okay.
But I know that there's a back story there somewhere.
Sure. Well, let's move on to the bigger picture and tell me about some of the things you're doing now involving your relationship with the police and some of the activities.
Well, it's frustrating when you try to go to the police and try to talk to them about the bad guys that they aren't really interested in that. I mean, they're interested in the bad cops, I should say. They're more interested in, and they protect themselves over the citizens. It's just a fact. I mean, a matter of fact, I flew out. So this is how passionate I am. I found a book. It's called "How to Fix America's Police." It's to serve and protect. Norm Stamper wrote it. He's a retired chief of police of San Diego. Chief of police of Seattle. He used to be a cop in San Diego. Went out there, flew, interviewed him. Told him my whole story, and he said, this is really why I wrote the book. He said, because I used to be one of those bad guys. I would try to dare people to fight me, and got a kick out of it. But the older he got, he said, this is wrong. And then it's a heck of a book. I really highly recommend. I think it ought to be mandatory reading for every new recruit in the police department.
Okay. Well. Along the lines of the police, you were telling me right before we started here that you've tried to get in touch with Chief Conrad and talk to him about some problems and
Absolutely. I went to his office. I talked to one of his lieutenants. He took a few minutes with me and on the phone and said that he would get right back to me by the end of the week. That's never been done. I called back to say, hey, it's been 2 or 3 weeks. Let's finish this conversation. And I've been told by other police officers that now, don't get me wrong. I am a pro-police when it comes to the good guys. You know, I've had some good cops say, why are you on? I said, I'm not on all police officers. I'm on the corrupt ones. And you guys know which ones they are. And you look the other way. And because they've said, because they never know when they might be in a situation that they need that corrupt cop to it's kind of like that Chicago video when that cop just shoots the poor man 15 times, and there's 4 police officers that lied until they were caught lying, saying that the perp was attacking the cop. So they need that protection, and it's just wrong. They want us, the citizen. They go after the citizens of please cooperate with us, please trust us. But when they don't reciprocate that, I mean, it's a problem. And I'm going to do everything I can about it through my experience.
Okay, now so you claim that there are some corrupt cops, some good cops. I mean, any idea like what percentage you think are? And tell me what you think of as a corrupt cop. What kind of actions would a corrupt cop take?
Well, that's a good question. I think if for example, in my corrupt cop, when I was wanting to tell my side of the story, I went to the police station after I was already arrested. I said, listen, I want to waive all my rights. I just want you to hear my side of the story. She refused to do it. She refused to look at any of the evidence that we wanted to propose. She lost all of our records on why she arrested. We have no documentation. We've had open record requests trying to find out, hey, what were your grounds on having me arrested?
Mm-hmm.
Nothing. Not sent anything. I showed other detectives, hey, there should be a stack of papers on this. I mean, the key evidence, the number one evidence that we wanted was the initial video, the audio that she made of my ex-girlfriend the night of that she had me arrested, and she told on the stand, she said that she had it on her for 3 weeks, and all of a sudden she just looked at the tape recorder and it just started erasing itself. I mean, now she didn't say that she did it by accident. She didn't say. She said it just started like it had artificial intelligence. It just said it just started erasing itself, and she couldn't stop it. So it had a mind of its own.
Yeah.
And that kind of stuff. When you talk to the experienced cops, they don't mess around with evidence, especially in a high-profile case like mine. They should have been sealed, but in the documentary, you're going to see how much the lies. It's so much, and it's beyond.
So there's tell me about the documentary.
Yeah.
Real quickly, because we're running out of time here.
Yeah.
But, you're producing a documentary?
I hired a company that deals with police out in Los Angeles.
Mm-hmm.
That they have even reached out to the prosecution office in the police department, and they've even got an email back that they're going to use against them, saying that we will not participate, we will not give you any information. And then if you see when they're right on TV, they always want to be in the camera,
Right.
but they do not want to be asked a question. They do not want to stand up for. They don't want to be behind what they've accused me of doing, and I just feel as I've done in the library tax, I've got to expose the bad guys, and look how great the library tax. I mean, they accuse me of all kinds of hate of the library tax, and look how many libraries are built now with no new taxes. So this is just going to be another one that it's a bigger fight than the library tax, but it's going to be one that I feel very confident that we're going to win.
All right. Well, certainly got to admire your passion for these topics and everything. And we're going to move on from this segment, and I'm going to come back and talk to you about some other topics that are in the news that I think are of interest to you and to our listeners. So we'll be right back after this.
On hold. We're good.
There you go. That's good.
Yeah. No. I know we don't have time, but we can always talk about it later. But you know, they and every time they had me in court, they kept delaying the trial. You know, when they accused me of breaking the EPO by sending her bills in her mail, it extended. You know, that's why it took 3 years. When the first trial was set for 4 months later, and then once that was, they got it sent another 4 months, and it just. And then they didn't like the judge that I had because she was friends with me on Facebook. I have 5,000 friends. I've never talked to her, so they've always come up with a different excuse. And then they kept trying to use the best one was when they tried to for them when they accused me of a felony of destroying my own building. And
I remember that. I went out there and looked at it.
Yeah, and I'm suing my ex's husband over because we've got 100% proof that he did it. So and the cops would never even listen to our side. I mean, it really it's laughable, but not in that sense. It's just
it's not funny if it's happening to you.
Well, it's not. I don't think it's funny just to be able to abuse of power.
Yeah. Well, okay. So this next segment, similar length, but I just want to talk about U of L football and
I love it.
And anything that. And politics. You know, the election's next Tuesday, so I'm sure you have opinions on that. Don't tell me now. They might be different than mine. So
no,
it's okay.
But you know what? That's what I love about it. You know, I still love you whether we agree on it or not. I don't care what. I'm not here to change anybody's opinion.
All right. So okay. So you ready to roll?
Yeah.
We'll do 12 minutes.
Okay.
All right. Rusty Satellite Show 174 News. And I am back in the Louisville.am studios with Chris Thieneman, my guest co-host for the week. Chris, welcome back.
Hey,
it's a very exciting time for a former U of L All-American football player, right? How about
Coach Snellenberger predicted it. He told me. He said, I remember it like it was yesterday, when he came here. He said this organization is on a path to the national championship, and it won't be this season or any time while you're here, but you're going to be building the blocks, the foundation to that national championship.
Yeah. Wow. And
That's
now it's
cool.
it's what, 20 years or so later, but what do you
85,
think?
yeah.
Now, I'm sure you pay attention to this. The first college football playoff rankings came out last night. A lot of people were disappointed around here.
Yeah, I saw that they dropped to 7. And it's tough, but you know, it's when it's arbitrary like that, when other people make the decisions. That's what I love about NCAA basketball. They have the best way. It's just it's
well, you can't.
raw.
You know, the way football situation is set up, you only have 12 games. You got to basically win every game, and
you got to play hard, tough teams, and you have to schedule it out. You don't know if they're going to be tough or hard. So it's too bad because I think Lamar Jackson is going to be the Heisman Trophy winner, and it sure would be nice to show him on primetime at the in the playoffs or the national championship game.
So how do you see the rest of the year playing out for the Cards?
Well, they're going to have to get themselves up every game, which is always tough. You know,
They seem to have sort of barely been good enough to win in 2 of the last 3 games.
Yeah, and it's and that's what you got to deal with. You know, I play professional, and it's a different type of attitude. You know, in college, the kids, it's harder to get them motivated, and they get a little confident, and then they get cocky. You know, in the pros, it's all about the dollar. They want that check next week, and I heard a great story when the Green Bay Packers won the Super Bowl. The pregame, one of the guys that played told me this story, and he said that they went in the pregame meeting, and Coach Holmgren had a large cover over something, and they thought maybe it was the trophy.
Yeah.
And he was building it up, saying, "This is what we're playing for, guys. I want you to remember." And he lifted it up, and there were $200,000 in cash.
Wow.
Because that was what the winners would get. And this is what we're playing for. So
It's all about the dollars there.
Yeah.
But of course, now we're real. I guess you still go to a lot of the games.
I haven't. I've been out in California, so
Yeah.
I haven't this year. But I've religiously watched them on TV.
Yeah.
They've
There you go.
been talking in California about them. That's what's so cool. I mean, everybody really knows Louisville football in a positive way.
Yeah, it's really great to see the program come up in prominence nationally so quickly, and that's what's been fun to watch from the upper deck where I sit.
Yeah, and it's great.
Well, we got
Positive.
Kentucky coming in a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
That'll be great since they're playing a little bit better. But well, let's move on from football now. Big day next Tuesday.
Yeah.
Is politics. You've run for mayor, you've run for
A couple of things.
Congress.
I like being more of an activist than say that I'm a politician. Because I like to
You're
bring
done
up
running
things.
for office.
I'm
though,
done
right?
running for office, but I enjoy, unless I find a cause that I really want to talk about, because I think that's the best platform. Because like this, you know, the local media is, you know, they're avoiding me like a plague when I'm showing that I was innocent on something and then talking about the LMPD. I mean, and so.
But you're on page 1 when you get arrested.
Yeah, exactly.
So, well, let's before we talk about the presidential race. Any of the other races, friends of yours? I know you're involved in the Republican Party at one time. Any races you're really watching?
No, not really. I'm focused on the presidential one.
Okay.
And maybe not for the same reasons that you like, whoever you may like. If we can talk about it.
Yeah, we can talk about it. That's what this is all about.
Yeah.
You know,
let me tell you in a nutshell, because I have problems with both of the major candidates, whether it's Trump or Clinton. I have my personal. I have just a pet peeve about lying. I think Hillary Clinton is the consummate liar. I think Donald is more of an in-your-face, will just tell you as he thinks it is.
You are aware that there are all sorts of studies out there that show that Trump lies more than Clinton does.
I've seen that, but then I know who it's coming from. But let me tell you why that I'm voting for Trump, because it's not about Republican or Democrat. The reason I'm voting for Trump is because and I don't like to label the leaders of our country as Republicans or Democrats, because by definition, I don't think our leaders are either one of them. I mean, Republicans to me are the people that live here, and the Democrats who live and fight to survive every day. They have they should just be called something different. But any politician that is hated by the Republicans and the Democrats, they are hated for a reason, and it's because they're speaking more, in my opinion, from the citizen. You know, he wants the term limits. He's sick of all of them. He talks about them all, whether they're Republicans or Democrats. Where do you find a typical politician that will talk smack about his own party, talk about and just as rough as he does the Democrats? And if you think about it, if he would win, the Republicans are going to want to jump on him the first chance he did anything wrong. He is not going to be able to get away with anything. Hillary could go in there and still get away.
Accomplish anything, I would say.
Maybe, but I think I think our country needs that wake up call. Let's not give them the same old thing. Let's stir the pot up. Let's get both parties upset.
Well,
That's just my opinion.
I respect your opinion. I think upsetting the status quo for the sake of upsetting the status quo is not the way to lead our country. I worry about Trump international relations. I worry about him it just not really knowing the way the government works, and it's scary to me. So, even if you were able to give him a pass on all the personal peccadillos of
and I have big problems
mistreatment
with
of
those.
women,
I don't like that.
mistreatment of immigrants, and all that. So.
Yeah.
I think any other year, a guy like him would have been eliminated early. I really think that, there's some issues on which I'd take the Republican side, but I can't take this candidate.
Yeah. I just think that I think people are sick and tired of politicians, and this is, whatever vote. My vote was for him because he's an anti-politician. Forget about everything else. In my opinion, that's just the reason that I vote.
Well, I think a lot of people are holding their nose and going to vote,
Yeah.
and you really have to do that with Trump. I think certainly Clinton's scandals. I
They're
really
both.
don't get the whole
And
importance of the email.
I blame a lot of it on the media. The media doesn't. I'm telling you that if you look at the books that I've read, or read the stories about JFK. I mean, he probably would never even be able to win on anything with his personal life. I think that the media has made it so difficult. I've tried to recruit candidates, really good, solid individuals from great companies, and they just said, Chris, I'm not going to put myself and my family through that. You're going to have to find some other kind of person. And that some other kind of person is pretty different than what
Well, you
what I
got
would
really
like to be
thick
there.
skin, and just to move on from that and pitch in if you know anything. The Metro Council, the even numbered districts are up, and that's a very important election. Unfortunately, I think to speak to what you talk about, a lot of people are running unopposed for the Metro Council. There is one competitive race. Gil Holland was on this show last week, and he is running out there in Prospect against a Tea Party Republican named Scott Reed. And I think you'd really like Gil's attitude about it. He says he didn't want to talk about his opponent. He don't want to talk about anything but what he thinks he wants to do. And
My opinion on that is and he's a Democrat, so I'm going to prove to you how much I could care less what label they are. But David Yates, I'm a big fan of David Yates.
Yeah.
Now
He's been
David
on this
Yates,
show.
when he first came in, I wanted to meet him and tell him how proud I was of his victory, because I know he worked very hard, and then I would stay in touch with him. Now, I don't know if he'll admit that he told me this, but after about a year in, he said, Chris, I said, how's it going? He said, well, I had fun at the meeting the other night. I went at the caucus with the Democrats, and I said, hey, let's do something radical. Let's get term limits, and and he just, and they all just started hackling. And he said, wait a minute, because first he said 12.
yeah,
And then he said, Chris, and then I proposed 16, and they were ripping me for that. And then he said, just to see what they would say, I said 28. and they were still ripping me.
They didn't want
Yeah,
that much of a term.
yeah, no, they refuse it, and then it's so difficult to get one. That's why nobody runs against them. Another reason why, and I think we should have term limits and get fresh
Sure.
ideas.
And that is a part of Gil's platform.
Well,
You know,
he
we
ought to
talked
talk
about
to
that.
David, because if David hasn't changed his mind before he got into leadership, then he should be right on board
Yeah.
with that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I certainly think a 2 or 3 term limit for the councilman, just like the mayor has,
Yeah.
would be.
It's because of the pension. I've literally talked to them. You know, personally, I think the hardest working folks are their administrative assistants.
Yeah, they do all the work.
They do all the work.
Because they're full-time jobs, and the council people still have, like, if Gil wins, you know, he's not going to give
No.
up all his businesses
No,
and
they're
all that. So,
Well, they should put a chip on there like they do on dogs and follow them around, and you'll see what the councilmen where they are,
I think you ought to come back and run for that, Chris, and get some of these things done. But anyway, it's great having you here as co-host.
Always
We got to
a
wrap it
pleasure.
up here.
Yeah.
And we're going
I
to
love your show.
plug LouisvilleKY.com, the Pulse of
Absolutely.
the City. A lot of new stuff coming. And
Yeah, we're going to be promoting it on all kinds of digitally and print and a lot of different ideas.
All right. Well, it would be a good time if you're a potential sponsor out there to get in touch with me about getting behind LouisvilleKY.com and the Rusty Satellite Show. So we're going to wrap it up here. Chris, thanks for coming in town, coming into the Louisville.am studios and talking with me on the Rusty
Yeah,
Satellite
thanks
Show.
for the invite.
Boom. That was
Cool.
great.
You like that?
Appreciate you
Yeah, we're done.
bringing
Yeah.
some of that stuff up. That was good.
That was funny. Yeah, that's a truth.
Anything you haven't gotten in, this is, I'm basically doing thank yous.
What about your reality show?
Well, I mean, you know, I want to follow up on my Fantasy Thailand.
Yeah,
We could,
you got
Oh, yeah?
That's we're
Okay, I'll get into that, and remember, let's
because we were on that in
let's
May.
be kind of quick
Yeah.
on that. So
Well, I'm going to just have a teaser. That's all.
okay. All
Just
right,
to
and this is
follow up
coming
on-
after the interview with the Yelp lady. So,
Yeah.
so if just so I could know if ask you ever like what? How do you use Yelp? Have you ever used?
Yeah, it helped me in New Orleans. I wanted to find the best po' boy.
Okay.
And that was the first time that, and they did a great job. And then I did it for the hotel there that were wonderful. And the ladies, what I found, the ladies that I really liked, they said, "Would you please?" And I did it right then because I get, if you would just say that I treated you well, I get $5. And that, I mean, so I did that, and they each got $5. So you know.
Well, I'll just ask you a brief question about that and
Yeah.
about Fantasy Thailand, and we'll get out of here. Okay. All right, this is Rusty Satellite Show 174 close. And I sure want to thank Emily Hagedorn for being on the show and for all the stuff with Yelp. And Chris, I understand you're a big fan of Yelp.
Yeah, I pulled it up a few times. One that brings to memory is my po' boy in New Orleans. I wanted the best po' boy, and I said, "Give me some help." And I typed in Yelp.
So
So
you got help from Yelp, and
Yeah.
there you go. Well, it's great. I'm really looking forward to the event on Thursday night about that. And for our listeners that may remember that when you were on this show a year plus ago in May, you were at that time talking about a Fantasy Thailand program, and just give me a quick update.
real
on that.
quick, we got a little teaser. It's a company that I try to fulfill fantasies on. We're going back in 2 weeks. We're going to. We've got a couple other folks that we're going to fulfill a fantasy on, and we have a network that we are had more than one conversation with. So
Well,
it's might be a.
I'm anxiously awaiting to have my fantasy.
Well, take the
fulfilled.
time and come over with me because your fantasies will be fulfilled.
All right, well, we're going to wrap it up here on the Rusty Satellite Show. I want to thank my sponsors, Passport Health Plan and the Eye Care Institute, for making this show possible. I get a lot of help putting the show together from producer Dan Bonderhide and Jackie Bentley. Post stories for me on LouisvilleKY.com, the Pulse of the City. And if you're a big podcast follower, I encourage you to check out Eat, Drink, Talk, the podcast. It's my other project with my partner, Steve Coombs. We talk about food and dining. You ever heard that
Oh,
podcast?
absolutely.
Oh, all
I
right.
love it.
All right, Chris. Well, join Chris in listening. This week we have a big story about the closing of Majid's.
Yeah.
You know about that?
All right.
and some other stuff that's coming up. Very interesting. Eat Drink Talk, you can find it at eatdrinktalk.net or on this Louisville.am network. How about all that? So, again, thank you again. 174 shows in the can. Next week we'll be back with show number 175. And Chris, thanks for all your support. I really appreciate your help.
I'm proud of everybody. You're doing a great job.
Boom. Good. That's it.
That was fun. Yeah.